edition of the Witsup podcast. It is fantastic to see all of your friendly faces. This, folks, this right here, right now, is the Witsup podcast 100th episode. Woohoo! I know you're all cheering, whatever you're doing, whether it be on the bike, out for a run, in the car, wherever you're listening to this. I know you're all clapping and smiling and cheering that we made it to 100 episodes. Back in 2017, we launched with our very first guest, Mirinda Rinny Carfrae. And I caught up with her at Geelong 70.3. So that would have been in February in 2017. And Rinny pulled me aside before we actually started recording. I think it was actually the day before we were set to record. And she said, I need to let you know something. And I am super clueless when it comes to things like surprises in terms of people telling me that they're pregnant. Like, I just would never have guessed, it just didn't enter my brain. Anyways, and I just remember walking into her room where she was staying, and she was there supporting Annabelle Luxford, one of her friends from many, many, many moons ago. And obviously you all know who Annabelle Luxford is as well. But I know there was this air of, in the triathlon world, there's this vibe, this sort of muttering, these murmurs going around as to why Mirinda Carfrae was in Geelong, not racing and just watching. And I don't know, there was a lot of questions being floated around. And anyway, I was still quite oblivious to it all. But anyway, she pulled me into the room and she was just like, I'm more than happy to do the podcast. I really would love to do your first podcast. However, I'm pregnant. And it took me a little while for it to sort of sink in. And I think it was because the way she told me, I was like, why wouldn't that? I don't understand why you couldn't do the podcast. I was like, is it because you're going to throw up every 5 minutes? I don't know. But anyway, long story short, we had to hold back launching the podcast because she wanted to wait until she could let all of her sponsors know and all of the important people in her life know that she was pregnant before it was announced on the podcast. So we're allowed to talk about it, but I had to put off actually releasing that episode, which was the launch of our Witsup podcast, until I think it was about a month or so. It was about 4 or 5 weeks after we actually recorded that we actually launched. Anyway, so that's why one of the reasons we love Rinny. I personally am I can't even say big fan of Rinny. I can, but she's a friend. She's a solid person. She's a good egg, and we couldn't have thought of a better person to help us celebrate 100 episodes here on the Witsup podcast. When I first decided to start a podcast, initially, I always wanted to be in the same room with our guests. I thought that's how I best, chat with people. It's how I get the best out of people, I feel. It's where I feel like people are the most comfortable, when you can speak to them face to face. So our podcast was always quite sporadic from the beginning because I could only ever chat to people when I was obviously in the same place as them, which meant when I was going to races, I'd have to record a podcast while we're at an event, which proved quite difficult because a podcast does take over an hour. And as you know, at a race, people generally don't have an hour spare to sit down and talk to you, particularly professional triathletes. They've got so many other media commitments and prepping for the race and, all the things that they need to get done. Plus, being at a race is also about connecting with people and catching up with people. So taking an hour away from that time that they might have devoted to catching up with other people is a big call. We got it done, but I eventually realized that it probably wasn't the best way to keep doing the podcast. Plus, it was really hard to carry all my equipment because I always want to make sure that we've got decent equipment to record these. Carrying all that equipment around the globe was quite tough. But it wasn't until Challenge wrote in, maybe it was 2018, that Steph Corker had said to me, you need to be doing more podcasts. We love it. I understand that you want to do it face to face, and I can absolutely appreciate that. But that's just not it's just not sustainable in order to be able to continually publish content on the podcast. So you probably need to start doing it remotely. And I pushed back because I really wanted it to feel like, you know, you're sitting in a room with a friend catching up, and I wanted our listeners to feel that as well. But she obviously convinced me that that was the way that we had to do things. And then obviously with the pandemic, it was 100% the way that we had to do things was recording podcasts remotely. So anyway, long story short, that is why we're only up to 100, even though the podcast has been out for over 4 years, because obviously we'd be over 200 or so if we're doing weekly podcasts for over 4 years. But yeah, because they were quite sporadic to begin with. But now we're here. We're 100 episodes in. We're delivering you one episode per week. Each time I do a podcast, I learn something new. I mean, Rinny, I've done so many interviews with her, but I still find out something new about her. And it was fantastic to catch up with her, particularly for the first time properly since she's had her little man, Finn, who's now about 5 months old. So here we are, 100 episodes in. I just wanted to give a big heartfelt thank you to everyone who continues to tune in and leave us feedback and comments about the podcast. I love doing it. I hope that you still love listening to the incredible people and the human sides of triathlon. And we're going to keep doing it. It's absolutely one of my favorite parts of what we do here at Witsup. But yeah, so enjoy our 100th episode. Enjoy the chat with Rinny. And if you aren't already subscribing to our podcast on whatever platform you listen to it, please do so. It helps us out greatly. And leave a comment. Leave a comment on social media or on the platform that you obviously listen to it, or even on YouTube if you are watching this. This is the longest introduction in quite some time. I do apologize, but hey, 100 episodes. Giddy up. Let's have a chat with Mirinda Rinny Carfrae. The reason that we're just running a few minutes behind is because, not surprisingly, Rinny has a couple of children to wrangle, and she was more than happy to go live while feeding Finn and having a chat with Izzy, because that's life of a parent, but particularly, let's be honest, but particularly a mum. It is all about the juggle.
Totally. Yeah. We have the little guy. I was all ready to go, and I'm like, oh, yes, I have to feed the little guy because he will be beside himself in about 30 minutes if not. So I had to quickly get him on the boob, and then Izzy decided to come down as well. So yeah, never a dull moment.
Oh gosh, I remember when Frankie she would have been three months, not even 3 months, and in Noosa I was hosting one of the breakfasts that I do, and because we flew in the day before, I hadn't expressed enough milk, and Brett turned up at the breakfast and was just like, "You have to feed her." So I pretty much just had to jump off stage, feed her, and I had Belinda Granger on stage. So I was like, you take the reins, you'll be fine.
Yeah, probably the best case scenario with who you had on stage with you.
Exactly. But it's incredible what you can get done. And I only have one. I just can't even imagine what it's like with a toddler and an infant. How are you? How's it all going?
It's going really well. I think everyone says there's a massive adjustment from 1 to 2, but the massive adjustment is from 0 to 1. That is the biggest craziness. And I feel like Izzy's at a pretty good age now. She's 3.5. We're actually going on 4 in a couple of months, and she can kind of look after herself. Obviously, not really, but like you go to the toilet herself. She can get dressed. She can like go into the cupboard and grab a snack. She definitely wants my attention, but she's capable of looking after herself. And so that's helpful. I think I can't imagine having 2 like real little ones, like an 18 month old or a 2-year-old and a baby. I think that would be a lot harder, but I think the age difference is kind of perfect for us. And I don't feel like it's that much different. Like all of my time outside of training was Izzy, and now, I don't have any more time. So now it's Izzy and Finn. She has to share that time. So it's kind of like, yeah, I mean, it's always hard to have an infant, honestly, because you're just kind of holding them all the time. So you're doing everything with one hand now. And sometimes Izzy likes to climb up and I have to hold both of them. And then I obviously can't do anything at all. But honestly, it's not that crazy a change from just Izzy.
Yeah. How are you going holding Izzy? Because Frankie, I'm like, oh my God, you're a small human. I can't lift you up and throw you around like I can, but then I end up with a sore neck like I've got right now. Because I'm also 40 now, so apparently.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
That happened. She's like 30 pounds. What's that? I don't even know. That's like only less than 15 kilos.
Yeah.
So she's like, she's probably a little more than that now, but I feel like she's been 30 pounds for like a year.
Yeah.
So it's weird when you pick up the little guy, you're like, oh, he's so little and tiny. And like coming home from the hospital with Finn and then looking at Izzy, I'm like, oh my God, she's a giant. She is a child. She is not a baby anymore. And you definitely gets put into perspective really quickly when you have an infant, like a little tiny baby, and then and Finn wasn't that little. I mean, he was 8 pounds 2 ounces or something. He wasn't super tiny.
Yeah.
But you realize that Izzy is not little anymore.
Yeah. A proper little human. Like,
yes.
Own personality, I imagine she appears to be quite an independent little one.
Yes. Yeah, she is very even since she was little, she kind of always knew what she wanted. Like she would kind of tell you in her way as an infant, like what she was happy about and what she wasn't happy about. And it still rings true at 3.5. She now, although I have to tell you, Steph, I think you're coming up to 3, aren't you?
Yeah.
3 to 3.5 was the hardest for us. She was like, 90% great, but 10% the devil.
Oh my gosh.
Who is this child? Like arguing, like the tantrums, unreasonable, like you can't even talk to her, like having meltdowns. And that only happened when she turned 3. And I think, once they're getting, to that age, they can all of a sudden, I can have an opinion. And, this is like her negotiation skills are amazing. Like, okay, well, how about okay, we're going to do this. How about we do this and this? Like, no, sweetie. How about we just do this? Well, what about if we did this and this? She's like, incredible. But yeah, the 3 to 3.5 was way tougher than the 2s. So, I mean, hopefully not the case with little Frankie, but was the case with my little one.
Someone's just commented and said Steph needs a drink after hearing that, and they're right, because I can it's happening. It's starting to happen already. The other day she was climbing on something that she shouldn't have, and I said, can you get down from there? And she looked me square in the face and went, no thanks. I was just like, oh my God, you can't negotiate with a terrorist and their little terrorists.
No. Totally. Yeah, absolutely. There's no reasoning with 3-year-olds. And then, when they wait till she gets like worked up, like Izzy never had tantrums or anything. And then all of a sudden, like tantrums, and she's crying like, Mommy, help me calm down. I'm like, okay, well, here, let me hold you. No, don't touch me. Okay, do you want a glass of water? No, I don't want anything to drink, but help me calm down, Mommy. I'm like, sweetie, like, I don't know what to do. And you just basically have to wait it out. It's 30 minutes of this like crazy, like just upset little person and doesn't know how to calm herself. And you don't have she won't let you help her, but she wants you to help her. But yeah, it's kind of like can't win.
And it's hard, isn't it? Because you understand that they're their own little person and there's so many emotions and even like hormones and all these things and senses, everything's happening. They don't know what's going on because all these things are changing inside of them.
Yeah.
So you can appreciate that, but also you're just like, oh my gosh, like I can't.
Yeah.
So you want to be the cool, calm, collected parent that obviously we all are, but
yes, obviously.
reality, that it's just not reality. After a couple of, let's talk it through, I'm like, oh gosh, no.
Yeah.
Go away.
Yeah, I know. It's like you got to take a couple of breaths, remind yourself that she's 3, and that, yes, she has a lot of emotions going through and she doesn't know how to deal with them, but it is hard. When when you're with them so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to ask, well, let's start with the kids first, and then we'll move on from the kids. But obviously,
Move into the triathlon world.
Yeah, but how the biggest differences between the two, and I guess what you've learnt about yourself as a mum, and then we'll get on to the athlete. But as a mum, between the two different kids.
Yeah, he's still so little, so there's not much. I mean, so first of all, I think I'll backtrack for a second and say, as a first-time mum, you second guess everything, you worry about everything. You're like, you don't have your confidence really that you're doing the right thing, because there isn't. I mean, there are manuals, but they're not realistic. And every single instance that you face, you can't. Well, you kind of can, I guess, hop on the internet and read about what. But and I found myself like second guessing everything with Izzy and wondering if I was, because you have this little life and you just don't want to mess it up, right? You just want to do everything possible to give the little person the best opportunities and everything. But you of course you're going to make mistakes along the way. But with Finn, we're just so much more confident. I don't know. I feel like with Izzy, I didn't enjoy the infant stage. So I'm like, what do you do all day? Like, okay, she's awake. We talk to her, and then we sing, and then like it's kind of repeat. But with Finn, I think because I have Izzy like distracting me a lot and pulling my attention away from him, there's less of that idle time. And I feel like when with Izzy, the days were so long. The weeks go quickly, but the days are long. But with Finn, it's just flown by. I can't believe he's almost 5 months old. He's a really happy baby. He lets you know as well, like if he's hungry, he's pretty much upset if he's hungry or he's tired, and he kind of like, you can tell there's two different cries. With Izzy, I don't think I recognized any cry from another. I'm just like, okay, something's wrong with her. I don't know if she's hungry, she's wet, she's tired. But with Finn, there's a definite distinct cry for a milk and a definite distinct cry, or like he doesn't cry, he starts to work up to a cry. Like he kind of gets a little bit grumpy or grumbly or grizzly, and then you're like, okay, well, he wants this, and you give it to him, and then he's like, great. So it's I don't know if he's an easier baby or if I'm just more confident with what I'm doing and more relaxed as well, which maybe is coming across in him.
Yeah, probably a mixture of both, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think he has, with Izzy's a pretty big personality. So I think he's like, okay, well, I just guess I'll just be here if you need me.
Just existing over here.
Yeah.
I feel like Frankie and Izzy are very similar. I feel they will be very similar.
Yeah.
Back to Izzy being, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you have a certain level of confidence, and I feel like you, as a multiple world champion in the sport of triathlon, but just in every day, you've got this quiet confidence, which seems weird to say to a multiple world champion, because you're a personality out in the field and everything, but it comes across as this quiet confidence. How did you, when your confidence is knocked, when you had Izzy, how did you cope with that?
I think I just remind myself that I only can do what I can do. And I think once I started doing triathlon, I certainly wasn't a confident person growing up. And once I started doing triathlon and started getting success, I sort of just realized that I am doing the best that I can every single day. I ask myself that question, pretty much every session, pretty much every day. Am I doing the best that I can? If the answer is yes, then I'm okay with it, and I'm at peace with it, I think you could say. And maybe that comes across in that I'm just at peace with, like I'm okay if I don't win, like I really want to win and I really want to perform at the highest level, but I'm okay with myself if I've given my best. And I think that maybe is coming across in my personality, because I mean, I've had, and I certainly, like once I started having great results and winning, world titles, that just kind of gets reinforced that, doing your best is enough and has been enough. So just continuing on that road of, doing the best you can and being okay with whatever result follows.
Yeah. Do you think that approach would work for everyone?
I don't see why not. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I mean, maybe I think it's a positive mind frame to have if you can, um, if you can like honestly be okay with whatever result comes. Like if you can walk off the race course and, you know, come second or third or fifth and say, well, and look at the numbers and say, I actually did have a really good race and be okay with that. Then yeah, I don't see why that mindset wouldn't work for everybody.
Yeah. And what makes you say when you're growing up you weren't all that confident?
I think I just grew up in a, you know, a big family, and I was just kind of, you know, just one of the kids. And, you know, I had two older brothers that beat up on me pretty good all the time, and and told me I wasn't going to be good, and told me that I was, you know, big brothers. They're mean.
Yeah.
And mine were typical big brothers. They beat me up, and yeah, they told me, you know, that I wasn't going to be any good or whatever, you know, just it was more on the basketball, I guess, because I followed them into basketball. And so we'd play backyard basketball, and they would never give me an inch, which I think is one of the reasons why I am who I am now, right? Like
Yeah.
having that fighting spirit and being beat up on, like, yeah, I mean, I would never say die either with my brothers. Like there was no chance they'd ever see me cry. I wouldn't give them the satisfaction. But yeah, that I think has come across in my triathlon racing, and that, you know, it's kind of the perfect storm. I'm a terrible swimmer. Well, no, not a terrible swimmer. I'm not the best swimmer, and I have to chase all day long, and I, you know, would never give up. So I think, yeah, maybe growing up in that family with those brothers was the perfect entry into triathlon for me.
I think there's a lot to be said for pain in the ass brothers for sure.
Yeah.
I feel that way as well.
Yeah.
Do you?
You hate them, but I almost want to thank them now, right?
Oh yeah, and at the moment,
thanks for being such a prick.
Yeah. That could be your Christmas card to them, I think.
Yeah.
Speaking of the family, obviously you haven't been able to see them for quite some time, and typically speaking, in a normal year, you'd spend a bit of time over sort of the Christmas, New Year break in Australia. How are you doing? How are you staying connected with them? How are they?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we wouldn't have gone to Australia this year because Finn, but if the pandemic didn't happen, we wouldn't have had Finn. So it was kind of like, you know, like it for us, the pandemic was amazing because we got, you know, our little guy out of it, and, you know, we wanted to have another child. I probably would have waited till after Kona to try and conceive, but it's actually worked out, you know, really well. We already have our second little guy, and yeah, it's sad not to be in Australia. I mean, my mom, I mean, and I don't, the sad thing is I don't know when I'm going to get to go back because we just don't know what's going to happen with, you know, my mom can't even leave Australia to come to the US and see us. So it's just crazy. And we're hopeful that we'll get to see them in the beginning of next year. If not, you know, if something happens and mum can come over earlier, she'll come out earlier and see the little guy. It'll be 2 years between them seeing Izzy, because we got back here January 2020, and we won't go back there until most likely, hopefully, I'm hoping January 22. And 2 years, like she's going to be 4. She'll be over 4, 4.5 almost. And she was like 2.5. So it's a massive difference with her. And then obviously the little guy's going to be 1. So yeah, it sucks, but, you know, kind of is what it is. And fortunately we have FaceTime. I think I've actually come closer to my mom, not through this period, but just being overseas and having FaceTime. Like I call her, you know, once a week and check in and see what she's doing. And I, you know, early in my career, certainly if I was living at home, not at home, you know, mum's house, if I was living in Australia, I probably wouldn't talk to her as much as I do now. So that's kind of been a nice surprise, I think. Like I didn't, I think what happened is what brought us together was me having kids, me having Izzy, and then realizing, wow, mum, you're amazing. And then just appreciating her so much more. She had 6 of us. I mean, that is ridiculous. And yeah, so I think once I had Izzy, I just, you know, you kind of, look to your mum a lot when you become a mother yourself, and you respect her more and you appreciate her more. But also, like, I found myself calling her for advice or to talk about different things with the kids, but also just, it brought me closer to my mum, which has been really nice.
Yeah. Yeah. 6. That is a basketball team. That's what she wanted, right?
Yeah. She had one sub.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with my mum. I think this past sort of 12, 18 months has brought us a bit closer as well, but very much so because of Frankie, and not so much for me asking for advice. For me, it's more about just appreciating that bond,
Mm-hmm.
and feeling guilty is not the right word because we've all got to live our own lives, but just
Mm-hmm.
feeling like I don't want her to miss out on seeing Frankie grow up. So
Yeah.
yeah, we FaceTime quite a lot. It's brought us closer again because we had a period of time where we, fell out with each other for a little bit. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like it's, particularly the last, because of the pandemic, it's brought us a lot closer. And I don't know, I guess made us all appreciate things a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think, yeah, you hit the nail on the head when you just want to, you have this little person and you just want to share with everyone, like
Yeah.
the milestones and just like the crazy things that they say and come up with. And like, where did that come from?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's so fun.
It's great. I post a lot about Frankie and I just don't
Mm.
care because
Yeah.
she's ace fun most of
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
time. Most of the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Well, I know, I like look at Tim and I'm like, there's nothing really that exciting about us. Like, we're still doing triathlon. We're doing the same. I mean, like, I feel like we're quite boring, but like the kids are growing and evolving and like learning new things. And it is cool to like remember to see the world through their eyes as well. Like,
Mm.
wow, this is cool. Like, or that, like, she's never seen a double rainbow, or, like, so, some random
Yeah.
stuff that you kind of take for granted. It's a nice reminder to appreciate the little things and be in the moment. So I think they give us that as a gift, I think, to remember to be in the moment and appreciate the small things.
That's a really nice way of putting it. Them giving us a gift. Absolutely. Even
Mm-hmm.
down to going for a walk with Frankie, I'll see some ants and then I get excited because I know she'll get excited about seeing some
Yeah.
ants. Like,
Yeah.
it,
Totally. Like, you would have probably stepped on the ants before, but now you're
absolutely.
like, check it out. Where are
Yeah.
they going? Like, look at that one. He's carrying like a rock.
Yeah. That's his house. Like they're building.
Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
awesome. And for those of you who are listening, please feel free to leave a comment or a question and I'll throw it towards Rinny as well while we're chatting. But I wanted to lead on to as a professional triathlete, it's probably a little bit hard because I know you're just starting to ramp things up a little bit now and Finn's only 5 months, but what's some of the biggest things you learnt about your approach to training, not racing just quite yet,
Mm-hmm.
between having Izzy and Finn? And I guess even from before having Izzy as well, like how have you evolved as an athlete?
Yeah, I think my whole life revolves around the kids, so it's hard to think before.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
yeah, no, I think, you just become, prior to kids, I think you just become more confident in the process and what you're doing. And obviously I was working with Siri and we had a really long term relationship, and just, yeah, confidence in what you're doing. I think that's the biggest thing that evolves over time, and is reinforced to you when you have good results. Obviously, if you're not having good results, then you make adjustments, or and yeah, we kind of got really good at figuring out where weaknesses were, what we need to improve on, and how to go about preparing for races. And then bring having a child into the mix. Yeah, with Izzy, it was totally like, I didn't even know if I'm going to be able to get back. Like, I don't know if this is actually going to happen, because it was a struggle. I mean, it's a struggle again with Finn, but I think going through it once gives you the confidence that you can go through it again. And I've been asked a lot, like, the difference, like, coming back after Izzy and coming back after Finn, and I don't know yet. Like, I need another couple of months. I feel like I'm in better shape now, but it's really hard to compare because with Izzy, I had her in August. We went into off season, you know, like I just basically was in off season with the whole rest of the triathlon world, and, you know, got to slowly build up January, February, and race in April. This time around, you know, I had Finn in January, and everyone's like fit. So I look on Instagram, everyone's doing crazy training and fit. And I'm like, I had a little bit of anxiety, like, oh my God, I need to get fit like right now, for the, you know, for a few weeks there, I want to say. And then I was just like, you know what, there is no rush. Like, I'll be ready when I'm ready. I'm going to listen to my body. I know what to do. I've got a great coach in Julie Dibbins guiding me back. And yeah, I'm just excited. You know, I'm enjoying the process of getting in shape again. With Izzy, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to. I mean, I guess again, I don't really know if I'm going to be able to race at, you know, top level. I think I can, and I believe I can, but I don't know that I can go and race, you know, against the top women in the world. It will have been probably 2 years between real races, because my last real race was like back in July of 19, because I broke my arm in Santa Cruz. Like, didn't really get to race Kona. I did do one race after Kona, but I was still out of whack in that race. So yeah, 2020 rolled around, and I'm like, okay, let's, you know, go like everyone else, and no season. And now we're basically 2 years later. So it's a long time between races, and you know, the girls are getting faster. There's more women coming every year, more amazing women, amazing performances again in Tulsa on the weekend. So it's motivating, and it's exciting. And yeah, I guess I don't really know if I'm going to be able to compete at that level, but I'm excited to try. And, you know, if I fail, it's okay. Like, you know, at least I tried.
And well, it comes back to what you said prior, that quiet confidence and the being honest with yourself, knowing that you've given it everything you've got, and that's all that you can actually ask for. That's got to give you confidence going into every day that you step outside the door to train or stay indoors, whatever the weather's doing.
Yeah. Well, now finally we're getting some warm weather, so stepping outside. I'm just like, honestly, like 6 weeks after Finn was born, I was just like, I don't want to go back to training. I don't want to go back to racing. I was like loving just being a mom and being with him. Like, maybe he'll be our last baby. I don't know. Maybe we'll have one more, but I don't know. I'm not young anymore. But yeah, it was kind of just really enjoying it. I think that was just the, you know, the mother hormones in me, like wanting to spend as much time as possible with him and Izzy, and looking at Izzy and realizing she's grown up so quickly, and those 3 years have just flown by. But then, you know, regardless, like, you know, you want to get back into shape. Like, I want to feel fit again. So I'm like, took the first steps to, okay, well, let's just start training a little bit. And now I'm just loving training. I'm loving the process of getting back into it. I'm really enjoying working with Julie. I'm excited to get back out there and feel fit and strong and race again. So I'm excited for the next, you know, however long, maybe 2 years of racing, maybe more. So I'm glad that this feeling came back, because I didn't know, like at 6 weeks, when he was 6 weeks, I'm like, maybe I don't want to do this anymore, and which, you know, would have been fine. But now I'm like loving it and excited to get out in the race course again.
And with Dibs, it's almost like this is your true clean slate with her, because like you say, there was the pandemic, and childbirth, and then breaking your arm. Like, you go back, you guys probably haven't had a proper clean slate to really get stuck into working with each other. Yeah,
well, so I feel like I got a good taste of what her training was like, because basically I was 8 weeks out from Ironman St. George, which was what I was planning to do in 2020. So I started working with her in December. So I got like 4 months of working with Julie. So I did get a build sort of into an Ironman. But yeah, but this, you know, this time she's bringing me up from nothing. I was kind of like, I had a bit of fitness from 19, and, you know, you have your off season, but it'll be interesting to see like how things progress with her over the next, you know, 6, 8, 12 months.
Yeah. And I'm a massive Dibs fan. and well, one of the big, I used to love watching her race, but also I just love that she's a massive smart ass as well.
Oh yeah.
How is
Totally.
the dynamic? Yeah, because you guys are close friends as well. And I think since the day I met her, she was giving you shit. And I was like, oh, she's awesome.
She's spicy.
Yeah. How's the dynamic going from a friendship into a coaching relationship?
Yeah, well, it's gone really well. And, obviously I raced against Julie in the, 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we were pretty fierce competitors, great friends, but we love to beat each other. And then obviously she retired early. And actually that was right around 11, it was right around when I left Syria, and Julie was still racing. Well, she was pretty much done, but she was still trying to race. Like her injury ended up, that injury that she had in Kona in 2011, I think it was 10 or 11. I think it was 11, pretty much ended her career. But that was right around when I left Syria for a couple of years there. And we joked that I'm like, well, you can coach me. And I almost, but she wasn't ready to coach yet. And so it was almost like, okay, let's do this. And then it was like, no, you're still racing. You're actually still probably one of my biggest competitor if you come back. Yeah. She didn't end up coming back, and she ended up starting coaching. But by then I'd already gone back to work with Siri, and things were going great. So it's kind of like a false start to us working together. And obviously, absolutely no regrets working with Siri, loved that time, but it came to an end in 2019 when she was kind of moving more towards public speaking and motivational speaking with Tony Robbins. And obviously my husband, Tim, and started working with Julie, and she had a squad here in Boulder. It sort of just things started to fall into place. And it's been really, really fun. She's still so damn strong on that bike. And, she comes out, and even when I was, 8 weeks out from an Ironman, she'd still kick my butt on the bike, which is great. I also have Dee Dee Griesbau, who's just ridiculously strong on the bike. We saw her in Galveston. She rode away from all the whippersnappers, and
so cool.
So amazing at 50 years old. So I have those two women. I just was saying to Tim the other day, we went for a ride up Jamestown, Super Jamestown, and they kicked my butt. And I'm like, it's going to be a long summer with those two. It's going to be crushing me, but it's, exactly what I need. And Julie's, while she is my coach, she still loves to stick it to me in training whenever she can on the bike. But yeah, it's just really nice to work with her. Her attention to detail is incredible. She doesn't miss a beat. Like if I go for a run and stop for 5 minutes because I see someone, she'll put in Training Peaks, or who did you see on your run? Like, it's amazing. She has so many athletes, and she's still like, wait, who are you talking to on your run? Like, why did you stop?
I can
like, she's
that.
always watching.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that just shows the amount of attention she gives to her athletes and the amount of time she puts into like actually looking at your files when they come in on Training Peaks and analyzing them, and like, then working out what you need moving forward week to week. And even at, my level now, I'm at about 17, 18 hours of training a week. And I'm not in great shape yet, but she's got everything dialed, which is cool.
I love it. Hey, I want to go back to, because Anne has actually mentioned this as well, and I was going to ask you this question anyway, but you mentioned it, Ironman Tulsa, fantastic racing by the women and some pretty fast times. What sort of struck me was how many people went under the 3-hour marathon. And Kat Matthews, sub 250.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
Is it you, Chrissy, and Kat are the only ones who've gone under 250?
I know Chrissy has, and I have, and I don't know who else. Maybe there's some others. That's a question for Torsten.
Yeah, I'll have to have a look. I'm pretty sure. If not, regardless, like
impressive.
Amazing.
But also, like, what I was looking at was, is it Katrina?
Mm-hmm.
Is that Katrina Matthews? Yeah. She was only 5 minutes behind Daniela.
5 minutes and 1 second.
Yeah, but she had a penalty, a 5-minute penalty.
Yeah,
which is really the more impressive. I mean, getting that close to Daniela, she's been kind of in a class of her own over the Ironman distance for the last 6-7 years.
Yeah.
And yeah, to see her, and even like Munch was only 7 minutes behind. That's an amazing race from her too, and a pretty big breakthrough. She was under 3 hours, 2:56 marathon, which is legit. After a very solid bike ride from those girls. So yeah, it's impressive. The game is getting tougher and tougher. It's exciting.
It is exciting. And I think you've kind of answered my question because you've got the stats there. You're a triathlon fan still?
Oh yeah. I mean, I can't help myself. I turn the coverage on Sunday morning, and I'm listening to Matt and Dee Dee, and I think even when I'm retired, I will still tune in and see what's going on. But right now it's very relevant to me, right? Like I got to compete against these girls. I need to know my enemy, right? I need to know, like, okay, what are their strengths? What can they do? What have they done? Who's coming up? Who's, maybe, doing anything different or special that I need to know about. And it's motivating. So yeah, I like to check in on what's going on, and especially in these big Ironman races, that was a big event with a lot of great athletes racing.
And that's what we've seen because of, as pretty much as a result of the pandemic, the depth of field in the races is huge because there's limited racing. And to me, I know there's obviously massive cons to this pandemic, but to me, like, I love to watch racing. And I feel like that is a bit of a pro with less races out there.
Yeah. I mean, it's a pro for the spectator and maybe not so much for the athletes.
Yeah.
Because they've got to go deep, like real deep, outside of a championship, which it's hard. Like it's hard to do more, 2 or, maybe you can do 2 big Ironman races in a year, but I'd argue that 1 is enough. For me, 1 was enough.
Yeah.
To go like that deep. But yeah, we'll see if they can, back it up and do it again in Kona.
Yeah. Do you think Kona will go ahead?
I mean, I think so. Honu, from all accounts, is going ahead next month, and that's a big indication as to whether Kona will happen. What I'm wondering about is the age group field.
Yeah.
I think the professionals will have no problem getting to Hawaii. I think internationals trying to get into the US and into Hawaii might be a lot harder to do. So that's what, I think the island really needs people to come back from what I understand.
Yeah.
And, maybe the locals maybe don't want it to be the case, but the island needs it economically. And I think an Ironman really want to put the race on. So I think it maybe is a worst case, it's a pro field with a lot of US athletes and a lot of lotteries going to race there. But hopefully, things start to open up a little more in the coming months. But
yeah,
we don't know.
Yeah. Just looking at it from an Australia and New Zealand point of view for age groupers, I doubt they'll even be able to get there, but it'll be the getting back.
And the quarantine.
2 weeks hotel quarantine. I think will still be in order in October. Yeah, like even I've been thinking, because I would be going for work, whether I could go over for work and get an exemption, but I can't afford 2 weeks of quarantine to come back. So that's pretty much my answer right there. Like, Kona's expensive enough as it is.
Yeah, it's $4,000 to come back, and you got to stay in a hotel, and then you've got Frankie. So you take her, right? You can't be away from her for a month.
Exactly.
And then she's got to be in a hotel for 2 weeks. Like,
oh my God.
Unless you can get that exemption. I know Greg and Laura Bennett are trying to get over to Australia too. And they've got their 2 kids. They're like, we can't do a quarantine with 2 babies. Like, we're not keeping them in a hotel. So I think there is, if you can prove that you can quarantine in your own house, but I don't know how that's approved and how that happens. So they're certainly trying to do that because they'd like to get home as well.
Yeah. Oh gosh, it makes it very, very tough, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's such a bummer, but
yeah.
Hopefully this will all be behind us not too long.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to go back to, I was talking about your quiet confidence. Another thing, and I always say this about you, you're like my benchmark. Do you say benchmark or what, what the line in the sand? Whenever I'm dealing with athletes, I always use you as a reference and say, if Mirinda Carfrae can spend a few minutes getting back to me or doing this or doing that, she's quite possibly one of the busiest athletes in the world. And I'm not talking about having kids as well. I'm just talking about in terms of commitments with sponsors, with media and everything. I'm like, if she can do it, then someone else can probably find a little bit of time and effort to be able to do it. But nothing ever seems to be an issue for you. Like I emailed you and you emailed me back, like, I don't know, within 2 hours. And
yes, but that was because Monday afternoon is my admin afternoon. This is where we are having this podcast on Monday afternoon. Because I have 3 hours on Mondays to do the washing, clean the filter for the master spa, and reply to emails. And you got me right at the right time. Otherwise it would have been days. And I'm guilty of taking a while to get back to emails, but I do a lot of emailing while breastfeeding with one hand. Like my replies are quite quick and short usually. But yeah, I mean, over the years, so I respect what you do, Steph. I appreciate what you do for women and have been doing for women in sport on a shoestring budget. And it's not easy, but you're doing it for the betterment of the sport for women, and that's to be admired. And so I appreciate that, and that's why I make sure you look after you look after us. So we should look after you too.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It wasn't meant to be about me though, but thank you. But what I was getting to is that you're still quite a laid back, down to earth kind of person. That's how I explain you to other people when, a lot of people will say, who's your favorite people to talk to? And your name always comes up because it's just, nothing is ever a hassle. It's just always easy to connect with you. You're usually, well, I shouldn't say usually, you're always very open and honest. But my question to you is, so I'm saying, you're down to earth, you're relaxed, you're easy. Mm-hmm. Would Tim agree?
I think so. You'd have to ask him that. I mean, I think we're both similar personalities. We're both pretty open and laid back, and I would think that he would agree.
That's good.
I get upset with him with little things like he's just such a mess maker, and I'm like, what? Like, why is your helmet on the kitchen table? like why did your gloves come in and land on the kitchen table? Like leave it in the garage. Like little things I kind of, get at him about. I'm like, just pick your stuff up and put it away. Cause I'm like tidying up after him and after Izzy. So I get annoyed with that, but that's it.
Yeah. Are you teaching Izzy to put stuff away as well?
Yes. And it's sometimes a battle because she's like, you can do it. I'm like, yes, but no, mummy will help you, or I'll help you, but you need to help. You need to clean up your mess. But actually the other day she wanted something. I think she wanted to watch a show or something. I can't remember, but, or she wanted a treat. And I said, okay, well, you got to clean up all your mess. And I didn't think she was going to do it. And she cleaned up the whole lounge room. I'm like, that's pretty good.
Bribing.
Yeah.
Right?
Bribery. It's all we have.
Yep.
Sadly.
Oh, it's true. Frankie is sleeping in a big bed and hasn't actually stayed in the bed, I don't know, for a month. So here's me saying this to someone with essentially a newborn, but have just had broken sleep for a month, and I'm not used to it.
Oh, Izzy's never really done well asleep. She's the worst. But since I had Finn, Izzy is Tim's responsibility.
Got it.
So the nighttime, like I say goodnight and then I go put Finn to sleep, and then he takes Izzy up and puts her to sleep. But she hops out of bed like all the time, and then at night and wakes him up. Like,
oh god,
because she's at the age now when our house is not ideal for little kids because our bedroom's on the main floor and her bedroom's up on the next level. And so she's kind of by herself. And so like we're all together, like Finn's with us in the room, and she's like, this sucks. Like I'm by myself. So I understand. But it's just kind of like, sometimes she's scared, sometimes she just wants to be with us. And for the most part, I'm just like, this is all temporary. Eventually she will not want any part of us, and she will be in her room. So kind of just, riding the wave.
Yeah. I did a podcast with someone the other week, and she was saying, she's a doctor, a scientist, and she said that, well, to begin with, she always goes back to animals to see what they do, how they, interact with their families. And she's like, you don't see a monkey going to go put their monkey in another tree and then they go back to another tree. Like, you don't see that.
No, it's not natural.
Yeah. And then the other thing that really struck a chord with me was, because I've just been really busy the last month especially. She's like, you've been flat out. You probably haven't spent as much time with Frankie as you normally do. And that's not a bad thing, but it's so different for Frankie. So her only way to get that back, you heard us, is to climb into bed.
My little monkey.
Hi, little monkey. She can't hear me.
No, she can't. You got Bunny?
Hi. Oh.
This is her favorite little Bunny Boo. I hope we never lose Bunny Boo. We'll be in trouble if we do.
You've got to get backup ones just in case.
I tried. I can't find them anywhere.
Oh,
there's no more. They're discontinued.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a situation.
Hi, Izzy.
Well, don't kick the stand.
What are you?
You want to go back upstairs, babe?
No,
I'm almost done.
But Mommy, I want to jump on a trampoline.
Well, you can go and ask Corey, sweetie.
But the kids are on it.
Oh, the kids are on it. Let's just wait until the big kids get off. We have a trampoline in the back of the house, and now the kids in the neighborhood they come and jump on it.
Oh,
they ask usually. But now Izzy wants to jump on it, and they're a bit big for her. So I don't know if she might get hurt if she goes and jumps on the trampoline with the big kids. This is my dilemma right now. She wants to go on the trampoline, and there's big kids on there.
Such is
Do you want to give them? They'll probably be done in 10 minutes, and then you can go on, okay? I'll jump with you. Now she wants to talk to you.
That's all right. We can have a chat. Hi, Izzy.
Can you hear?
Can you hear
Say
me?
hi.
Are the big kids on your trampoline? Are they really? Do you know what? Why don't you say to them, 5 more minutes and then it's my turn, please?
That's a good idea.
Fair?
Good idea.
Thanks, Steph. She's going to go and say 5 more minutes and then it's my turn. Okay, babe. I'll see you later. Well, that was easy.
Yeah, parenting easy.
She's like, oh, good idea. See you later.
It was a good idea because it wasn't your idea. It was
probably.
Idea.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we'll start to wrap things up because I know how busy you are. But I'd like to get a bit of an idea of what plans are over the coming months for you.
So I hope ideally I'd do a race in July, but there's no races here in the US. There's a race in Ecuador, but I don't really want to travel all the way down there with Finn. So the first race I'm looking at is probably going to be Boulder 70.3 in early August. And I'm an outside chance for the Collins Cup team too. And so, I mean, I'd have to have a really good race in Boulder. Who knows if I'm ready to have a really good race, but it's obviously worth a shot. So I'm kind of aiming for Boulder 70.3 and then either the Collins Cup if I get the call up. If not, I'll do probably Timberman or something like that. I think that's late August. And then, I'm kind of deciding whether to do 70.3 Worlds or not. And there's, Kona's kind of on my radar, but we'll have to wait and see. It's kind of, honestly, like my schedule post-August will depend on how I feel in August and how fit I am.
Sure.
If I'm honest with myself, my first Ironman after I had Izzy was about when she was 10 months, and that was Ironman Cairns. And I had a decent race. I biked really well, but I felt awful on the run. And I don't really want to feel awful on the run in Kona. I need to feel great on the run in Kona. And also I was still breastfeeding a fair amount. And I felt really hot in Cairns. I remember feeling just like, I think I was carrying like a little bit extra, obviously the milk. But I mean, I don't really want to go to Kona if that's how it's going to be. I don't know if it'll be different the second time around. So I mean, I have my spot for Kona that's on the radar, but if that if that's not looking like it's going to be a possibility, or I don't feel that I'm going to be competitive there, I probably will go and race. Like Ironman California is 2 weeks after Kona. And that would stamp my ticket, hopefully, if I race well enough for the following year's Kona. So really, I'm like, I basically, if I feel like I can race really well this year in Kona, I'll do Kona this year. If not, I'll try and qualify early for next year, and just work my whole year around Kona next year. Because I feel like once with Izzy, it was like 18 months that I felt like started to feel good running again, and I need to feel good running.
On that island, you absolutely do.
Yes, for it to make, I mean, it sounds like, I don't know, maybe arrogant or whatever to say, I'm not going to take my slot, I'm not going to race in Kona, but I've raced in Kona a lot of times and I've had great results there, and I don't see any point in just going to make up the numbers, like just to be another athlete. I mean, obviously it's a great opportunity to go and race in Kona. Like anytime you get to race there is pretty amazing, but I don't think it's worth it unless I can be competitive. So kind of looking more towards probably 22.
Yeah, I don't think that sounds arrogant at all. It sounds very smart. I mean, Kona takes so much from you on every level, whether it be physically, mentally, emotionally, monetary. Like it's a big call to be going and racing there. And if you're not feeling it, then, and I guess being a previous champion multiple times as well, making out the numbers is not an option for you.
No, it's not. Well, it's just not motivating. And I'd rather if I've only got a couple more big Ironmans in me, then I'd rather wait for 22 when I know that my body will be like, hopefully well, who knows? I've fed Izzy for 2.5 years, but at least by 18 months, I wasn't feeding her much. And I think my body really just started to, click back into action, or maybe there was less elastin, but I don't know what it was. But my run, all of a sudden I felt like, okay, I'm not as like lax as I was before. I have more tensegrity, I think is the word. I hear someone crying and coming downstairs. Sorry.
You're right.
Hold on once. Izzy, babe, what's wrong? If you can be quiet, you can sit on my lap for a minute, okay? You hurt yourself? Okay.
I hurt myself on the road.
On the road, did you fall down? Yeah, okay. It's okay. We sit here for a minute and then I'll take you outside, all right? You have to be quiet while I finish up, okay?
Oh, little friend. Yeah, we'll start to wrap this up. Before we do, did you see that at the Olympics? And I've forgotten her name. She's the marathon champion.
Yes, Alafine Tulamuk.
Yes,
I think I'm probably saying it wrong. Yes, I was reading that
about the baby not being able to go.
Yeah, and
interesting. I love your thoughts.
I think it's absolutely a disgrace. And yeah, I mean, I saw it on what's her name? Another outspoken track athlete that is a mother as well. Is it Alyssa? I can't think of her name. Anyway, I saw it randomly come up on her, and she's like basically a big advocate from mums and athletes. And I think the headline was babies aren't spectators. They're an extension of the mother. And
I like that.
to have to choose between an opportunity to race at the Olympic Games, which is a once in a lifetime opportunity, and breastfeeding your child. Yeah, unless you're Nicola, then it's like 7 times. I don't know how many times she's racing the Olympics. But I'm hopeful that they'll change that and allow her to bring her baby, because it's just crazy. I mean, there are some ways around it, but that'd be so much breast milk. I don't think you could express that much breast milk she'd have to be away from the baby for at least 2 weeks, I would think.
Yeah, with all the quarantining and all the other bits and pieces.
I don't think you have to. So some of the US athletes went and raced Yokohama, and they only went a week before, and they were back. They were probably there 10 days, maybe just over a week. But there's no quarantine coming back here.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I'm like I was trying to think like how can you work around this? Like express a bunch of milk and then pump while you're there because you don't want to like lose your supply.
Yeah.
That's kind of the only. Sorry, my little person's like messing with my light and stuff in the background.
But I think it's a disgrace as well. And for those who are just catching up, essentially athletes have been told that they can't take their baby if they're breastfeeding, or they can't take anyone, and because spectators aren't allowed, and they've essentially
outside.
That babies are spectators as well. And this is to breastfeeding mothers. Yeah, we're not talking toddlers, we're talking babies. It's terrible. I hope that rule changes. And also, it's not like there's 500 athletes who are doing that. Like maybe let's just take an exception to their rule it's happening.
Very minimal, I would think. Mothers that are breastfeeding are going to the Olympics.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy that it's happened. It's like a thing.
Yeah. Just
I want to be done with this call.
Okay, Rinny, I think this is a very good time to wrap things up.
Sorry.
No, all good. There are trampolines to be bounced on. Hi, Izzy. And I appreciate the time. This is our 100th episode. We talked for the very first time in Geelong back in 2017 when you were pregnant with Izzy.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and it was still publicly, it was still a secret, and we pre-recorded.
You had to hold the episode for a little bit, right?
Yeah,
because we talked about it.
Yeah, I think we had to hold it for like 6 weeks. Yeah, because we spoke about it.
I hadn't spoken to all my sponsors and everything yet. So
yeah, and you're wandering around Geelong, and there were so many whispers and rumors.
Oh yeah, Rinny doesn't look very in shape. She looks like she's really the one that made me laugh the most was Daniela's just broken her.
Really?
Yeah, she's just let herself go. Like, because I think I got second to Daniela at 16, and then I got pregnant.
Oh, that's so funny. Daniela has broken her, so she's let herself go. That's brilliant.
She's just gonna. I've just been sitting on the couch drinking beer, following. And now I have 2 babies.
You do. Far out. 2 babies.
And maybe the next one will have 3 babies.
You're crazy. Although I can actually imagine you with 3 babies, but I don't know why. That's just in my head. Not for a few years. Thank you so much.
Mommy, something's spiking me on my back.
Something's spiking you. You're all right.
Oh, I thought she said something's biting me.
I think she said spiking me on my leg. I don't know.
Thanks, mate. Can't wait to see you again. Not too sure when it will be. Maybe in Kona. Yeah. We don't know.
Hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah. So our kids
open
can
up
play.
the borders, Australia.
Yes.
Let us
all
in.
Right, mate. Yeah.
All right.
All right, dude. Thank you so much. Steph. Enjoy your afternoon. Bye, Iz.
I will. You too.
Bye.
She said bye. Can you say bye?
Bye-bye.
It's so cute. See
Thanks,
you, team.
Steph. We'll see ya. Bye.
Bye.